You are listening to an Atomic Broadcasting production, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation. And remember, do your part, such as like, comment, rate, and don't forget to tell a friend to tune in for an Atomic Time.
Hey everybody, Jordy here. We are coming in with a quick recap of books 1 and 2. So, if you've heard of the show and you're interested but you don't want to get caught up on 100 episodes, you are in the right place. Now, before we get into that, a quick announcement. We will be returning with the beginning of book 3 on October 13th. Now, a quick caveat. That will not be the first story episode. We're going to have a quick retrospective. So you're going to get a chance to hear the thoughts of all of us here as we're producing the show, what we have learned, any interesting insights, behind the scenes thoughts we have, and there will even be a frequently asked questions portion. That episode is what's coming out on October 13th. And then 1 week from that, on October 20th, the Monday, October 20th, is when our next episode 105 to begin book 3 will be coming out. So make sure to set your calendars and tune in for that, and we will see you there. Now, on to the recap. Book 1. Our story opens with a band of strangers brought together for what began as a simple job. Local miners in the town of Copperburget had broken through a wall into a natural cave formation full of strange objects and designs. Rather than risk their own lives investigating this vault, the mine administration hired a group of researchers from out of town to investigate. These researchers, in turn, hired a group of adventurers to take the brunt of any risk they might encounter. These adventurers were the half-elf Alward Volden, a reserved former accountant for the Infernal Mining Company and a developing psychic, the human Hamir Helvig, a retired veteran of the Shining Crusade and a thaumaturge, the fetchling Zephyr, a mysterious assassin and self-taught magus, the dwarf Uver Sturkvind, an ancient dwarven scholar and wizard, and the fetchling Neros, a sorceress and prankster, but a partier foremost. After arriving at the mine, our heroes investigated the strange cave and were stunned to find a set of modest furniture scaled up to nearly twice the size of that of normal furniture, ancient illegible scrolls and writing, a statue of a large, hunched creature with a bulbous nose, and, strangest of all, undecipherable runes etched all across the walls. These runes were most intriguing to Uver, who revealed that he had mysterious scarring across his whole body that seemed to be the same writing. Even he couldn't read the runes and had no idea how they got there. As the group investigated the room, they soon found that anyone who ventured too close to the northern side of the room where the statue sat was soon overcome by an intense but vague sorrow. Hamir, able to resist this unnatural sadness, found an ornate helmet sitting on the ground in front of the statue. He tucked this into his pouch out of idle curiosity, but none of the others seemed to notice. The next morning, the head of the research team, Salazar Wells, hired the party to collect some research materials from the local city of Joel. Our heroes accepted the job, also eager to investigate a strange underground library found in a hidden vault under the city's abandoned arena. They made good use of the travel to Joel by doubling up on jobs. They allowed a young man by the name of Sigmund Eiridson to travel along with them for a small fee. Back in Joel, the group made a quick stop to collect the basic supplies Salazar had requested before venturing beneath the abandoned Colosseum into the ancient subterranean vault. As they explored, they were guided by glow-in-the-dark vision chalk markings that were revealed to be made by none other than Uver himself, although the dwarven wizard had no memory of ever being here before. Perturbed by this memory loss, Uver agreed to allow Hamir to attempt to venture into his mindscape and search for the missing memories. Hamir was successful in opening a door into Uver's mind, but unfortunately could not locate the memories, which seemed to have somehow not been suppressed, but removed entirely. As the mindscape began to become more and more unstable, Hamir severed the connection, but not before Uver caught a glimpse of a monstrous, gaunt entity chained to 13 ghosts wearing military attire. Meanwhile, in the physical world, Alward, Neros, and Zephyr were accosted by a strange, sinister stalker who made no efforts to harm the party, but gleefully taunted Zephyr from the shadows before retreating. As they exited the arena, they were confronted by a group of robed cultists who fell upon the adventurers, claiming they had stolen a helmet from them. After a brief battle, the party incapacitated all their assailants except their leader, who had left before the battle commenced, his identity still shrouded by his cloak. The party kept one of the cultists alive and attempted to question him, but he was staunchly tight-lipped and only let slip that this cult was formed primarily of the descendants of an ancient King Aerid, whom the cultist claimed was still alive and would soon return to reclaim his throne. Frustrated at the lack of results, Hamir seemed overcome by a strange, otherworldly anger and chopped off the cultist's hand. The party quickly used a heal scroll to staunch the bleeding and turned the cultist over to the guards. The party then split up to pursue their own projects. Nero stopped by the library to research further about her missing parents, only to be met with no more answers than ever. Alward and Zephyr went to Alward's family house for the evening, where Zephyr endeared himself to Alward's younger sister Lena and ailing mother Valia. Meanwhile, Uver had tailed the guard who had took their prisoner into custody and began a stakeout of the jailhouse. Before he could learn anything, however, Hamir arrived and revealed that he had taken the helmet from the cavern at the start of the adventure and believed it to be the helmet the cultists were searching for. The two of them returned to the tavern and attempted to unlock any secrets the helmet may have been hiding, but they learned nothing until Uver attempted to put the helmet on. For his efforts, Uver was rewarded with a burning sensation along the runes scarred into his skin. Reflexively, Uver tore the helmet off, and the sensation quickly faded. The pair decided not to press their luck any further and to regroup with the rest of the team before trying anything else. As the evening wore on, Zephyr decided not to impose on Alward's family any longer and began back towards the tavern. Before he got far, however, he was stopped by a shady man who had a job for Zephyr. He wanted the cultist the group had just turned in to be eliminated. Zephyr hesitantly accepted the job and changed course to the jail. He initially had planned to merely scout the location that night, but plans changed when he encountered Hamir outside the jail, being drawn there in an unexplained trance-like state. The two broke into the jail and absconded with the cultist. Safely in a dark alley, they began a second attempt to interrogate him. After finding him even less talkative than before, Zephyr and Hamir executed the cultist and disposed of the body. In the aftermath of the job, Hamir revealed to Zephyr that he was looking for his daughter, Hertha, who had disappeared from his home 2 years ago. He offered to pay Zephyr should he be able to track her down. The following morning, the group reconvened to discuss their next steps. While Zephyr, Neros, and Uver stayed behind in the tavern to discuss what they had learned, Alward and Hamir stopped by the library to research this King Aerid. While their research proved ultimately fruitless, Hamir revealed that he had served with Alward's late father in the Shining Crusade. Unfortunately, it was Hamir's hand that slew Alward's father, though Hamir claimed that the discovery of the chalice had driven all his comrades into a frenzy, and he was only forced to act in self-defense. Enraged at this revelation, Alward lashed out at Hamir with his mind, the two becoming locked in a psychic duel. Hamir narrowly emerged the victor and carried the now unconscious Alward back to his family. As this was happening, Uwe remembered a friend of his in the area, Seerdire the Elf, an antiquarian who had studied these relics and histories. He, Neros, and Zephyr dropped by for his assistance and learned that Uver had been experiencing memory issues before and had even spoken to Seerdire about it previously. As they were beginning to leave, Neros asked Seerdire if he knew anything about her family or if he could recognize the family seal on the letter left with her when she was dropped off at the orphanage. Seerdire again had little information to spare, but did admit that Neros seemed familiar. Inspired by this, Nero showed her prized locket to Uver, who saw a familial portrait, presumably depicting Neros' parents. But no one aside from Nero saw any distinct features on the man's face. It appeared instead blurred out and missing. The party regrouped at Alward's house and decided that they needed to investigate all these strange happenings and the imminent rumors that the Aridson cult was planning something big. Alward insisted that he needed to move his family back to the safety of Tomgrove before anything happened. Tomgrove itself wasn't as uneventful as they had hoped, however. The party wasn't in town for long before secretly meeting with an undercover guardsman and saving Trov, an old friend of Hamir's, from a public hanging. Trov, more connected with the rumors of the underworld, was able to confirm that the Aridsons were planning something. At their annual ball the next month, they were supposedly going to make a big announcement, one that sent ripples through the criminal community. With more intel now to work with, the party took the remaining month to prepare to infiltrate the ball. During this downtime, Hamir stashed the helmet with Raya, a friend of his in town, asking her to keep it safe. With their preparations made, including masks, fake names, and forged invitations, the party entered the ball and quickly split up to investigate. Hamir overheard that one of the family leaders, an enchantress named Datha, had been seen speaking with a young woman that matched the description of his daughter Hertha. After finding out that Datha was likely on the 3rd floor working on some project, Hamir enlisted the aid of Neros to distract the guard posted at the stairs while he stealthed up to speak with her. Meanwhile, Uver discovered an extensive collection of books regarding King Arid and the Aridson clan in the manor's library. His investigations were cut short by an attack from a gargoyle, but Zephyr arrived just in time to help him escape to the safety of the main hall, where the gargoyle seemed unwilling to follow them. Neros and the guard were standing close by. The guard nearly broke off to investigate the happenings, but Neros distracted him with a kiss. Meanwhile, Hamir confronted Datha upstairs. She seemed surprised to find that Hamir seemed uninterested in the family's efforts and merely wanted a lead on where he might find his daughter. Datha told him she had last seen Hertha heading north to Sojourner's Rest in the Grungir forest, but refused to offer any further information. Back downstairs, the others surmised that someone knew of their trespassing into the party and was trying to subtly remove them. While they were discussing how best to proceed, they were interrupted by the beginning of the anticipated grand announcement. An old woman, known as Mother, seemingly the leader of the group, greeted the assembled family members and announced that they had made great leaps of progress. They had recovered the head of the king. With this announcement, they unveiled the strange helmet which the group had thus far been keeping out of the family's possession. It was presented by none other than the man their group had escorted to Joel near the beginning of their tale, Sigmund Aridson. With this announcement, Mother warned that their new world order would soon take effect, and that each one of them should be ready at short notice to rise up and fight for their returning king. After the announcement was finished, Mother returned upstairs, but before the party had time to discuss, they each received a mental message from Datha requesting their presence on the 3rd floor. Heading upstairs, the party, minus Hamir, hid around a corner and overheard a secret meeting of the heads of the family. Their meeting began with a roll call. Mother, Brenger, the wolfskin warrior, Ylva, the green speaker, Hody, the fey-blooded, Audir, the patron, Ordfus, the zealot, the twins, Siggy and Svelta, and Saito, the king's shield, who himself was absent from the meeting. The bulk of the meeting after this roll call was a cryptic status update on the projects each were working on in preparation for the king's return. After this cursory beginning, Svelta was dismissed to her room on the pretense of getting a shawl to ward off the cold. Moving quickly, Zephyr intercepted the girl and was accidentally shut into her room with her. He attempted to befriend her, but succeeded only in getting her cautious and on edge. Meanwhile, Siggy got suspicious of how long Svelta had been away and went to check on her. Alward attempted to warn Zephyr, but only managed to join him just as Siggy caught both of them. Not wanting to risk a battle, the two feigned surrender before seizing a chance to escape and regroup with Neros and Uver. They decided it was getting too risky to stick around and attempted to find a subtle way to leave the building. They found this in the form of an open window in Datha's workshop. Taking a moment to gather her unique gemstones and work notes, they began to escape, which gave Datha just enough time to catch up with them and confront them. She had intended to take them captive herself to demonstrate her skill to the family, to jockey for more power, but a few well-timed strikes and well-selected spells, and Datha fell lifeless as the four heroes fled the manor. End of Book 1. In the fallout of their infiltration of the Aridson Manor, the party decided their best bet was to lay low and get out of town. They headed back to Tomgrove through the woods in the wilderness. They checked in with Trov, who confirmed that someone, presumably Siggy, had assaulted Raya and stolen the helmet shortly before the ball. While the party was stopping by the town alchemist to buy medicine for Alward's mother, they encountered a strange pair, a fleshwarp named Cornelius and a young woman named Val. Val introduced herself as a champion of Pharasma and Shelyn, and explained that Trov had suggested she join them to help stop the Aridsons. Val and Cornelius had done some of their own research on the crime family, and suggested that the party begin disrupting the plans that they had overheard the family discussing at the ball. Val suggested their first target could be Saito, who was last seen entering a strange cave called Troll Forge in the eastern Kodar Mountains. Before they head out, they stopped by Copperberg again to drop off the unique crystals they had taken from Datha's shop. They left these with the inventor Bran, who claimed they were soul stones, gems that could be used to store or refract spiritual energy. Along the way, the party was introduced to Val's raven companion Sigrun, and to Zephyr's raven familiar Rustiford. Zephyr hadn't introduced him any earlier due to his inability to control the raven, but figured Val and Sigrun could help him develop the skill. As they neared their destination, the party encountered a rickety bridge. Alward scouted ahead to confirm the safety of the bridge, and something strange occurred. A board broke beneath him and he fell a lethal drop into the river below, all before everything seemed to snap back to before and Alward was still safely on the bridge. Not willing to discuss the issue, Alward headed up an effort to bolster the bridge for safe travel before they resumed. After pushing through the wilderness, the party arrived at their destination, a doorway into the side of the mountain. However, they found the doors ripped off their hinges and a large troll sitting in front of it with its back to them. While they were initially cautious, the party found the troll, who introduced himself as Pilgrim, to be friendly and artistic. He had journeyed to this same place to see what works of art he might find in a place called Troll Forge. After befriending this strange troll, the group went inside and found the scale of the building eerily reminiscent to the cave they had found at the beginning of their adventure. Before they found Saito, however, they were stopped by a group of kobolds who insisted they must get permission from their chief before going any further. The party allowed the kobolds to escort them to their camp further in the mountain before enjoying a pleasant feast held in their honor. During the feast, Val had enough liquor to loosen her tongue and confessed her true identity, Hertha, Hamir's missing daughter. She explained that she had little love for her birth father and would be happy not to be reunited with him. Meanwhile, Alward and Uver, intrigued by some runes they had found throughout the forge which seemed remarkably similar to those on Uver's body, decided to experiment. Alward and Uver worked together to use Alward's enchanted translation diary, a gift from his father, to attempt to translate the runes. Their attempt worked for the first time, revealing their chosen rune to mean teacher, but the success flooded their minds with seemingly endless information, causing the two to black out from the experience. Overnight, Zephyr had a nightmare where his terrifying stalker mocked him, insisting he would never have a family without first speaking with him. Zephyr took this as a sign to tell his friends the truth about his stalker, that he had been followed by this creature for years, but the sightings were becoming more frequent and more direct recently. Val, familiar with this creature from folktales and songs, identified it as a boogeyman, a creature that stalked people until eventually consuming their souls. While they were discussing Zephyr's past, he also trusted them with his greatest burden, that his entire family had been killed by an unidentified murderer when he was only 7. He had taken on the life of a hitman while trying to hunt down this family's killer. Before they could discuss any further, a group of kobolds informed them that an intruder, surely Saito, had broken into the sacred sanctum. The party rushed off, following a shortcut the kobolds showed them, and were able to confront Saito before he even left the sanctum. Saito had claimed a strange amulet that allowed the bearer to summon a spirit blade at will. The party demanded that he surrender, but Saito was uninterested in combat with the party and attempted to merely push past them. The party refused to let him leave, however, and quickly dispatched him. They claimed the amulet he had come for, which Zephyr offered to keep track of. As they were making their way out of the forge, a young kobold by the name of Ruby asked to join them on their quest. This situation struck on themes of freedom and duty and sparked an intense argument throughout the group, in particular between Val and Uver. The schism threatened to fracture their party entirely. Eventually, the group was able to reach a tenuous truce, deciding the situation at hand was too dire to allow personal squabbles to interfere. As a part of the compromise, the group moved north towards the Grungir forest, intending to kill two birds with one stone, to stop Ylva in her mission, and to seek out a wise woman Uver had met before joining the party, who seemed to know more about Uver's situation and his past than she let on. On the way, the party stopped at the small town of Brush Hollow, situated on the edge of the forest itself. Neros found herself in good company in the fairy-run tavern, The Dancing Fairy, as pranks flew left and right. Zephyr, however, found himself confronted by his boogeyman stalker yet again, who made him a difficult but tempting bargain. The boogeyman would bring Zephyr's family back to life, on condition that Zephyr murdered Alward's family. Zephyr gave no commitment either way, and promised to give his answer later. The next day, the party journeyed into the woods, which grew more menacing the deeper they went. One night, as Val and Neros were taking watch, they broke away from the group and attempted a ritual to summon Corvus, a strange, raven-like psychopomp that had been watching over Neros. He explained that Neros' mother had died when she was born, but that he had been trying to keep her soul from moving on in hopes that she could still be saved. He was unable to answer any further questions, a strange force seeming to compel his silence. As he was operating beneath the notice of Pharasma, Neros made Val promise not to turn him in. The party faced various threats in the forest, including unfriendly animated trees, a hunting linorm, and a patch of sleep-inducing flowers, but the most disturbing encounter was a strange plant creature that replaced Uver during his night watch, leaving the party to wonder where he had gone to. Before they could go far, however, they encountered a warrior named Einar. He claimed he was a friend of Uver's, but they had been separated in the woods. As they shared a mutual friend, he was eager to join their cause and assist them. With their new ally Einar, the team defeated a pair of trolls guarding the way, then proceeded to confront Ylva Eridsson, who was mid-negotiations with the trolls' leader. The party disrupted the discussion and took Ylva prisoner before chasing the trolls back into the forest. After questioning Ylva, they decided to bring her with them back into town and discuss what to do with the information she had given them. At the inn, they discovered Uver had left them packages, but no explanation of where he was or why he left. As night fell, Zephyr called on the boogeyman to ask about their unholy arrangement, but the boogeyman seemed less stable than before and threatened him that the next time they met, there would be a body. Zephyr rushed downstairs to discuss with the others, only to find Hamir now changed and distorted into monstrous form. He was still looking for his daughter, but his humanity seemed to be dwindling. He threatened Zephyr, scarred him, and vanished into the night. Zephyr rushed upstairs to wake Alward. After managing to get them both into a psychic duel in the mindscape, Zephyr told Alward about the boogeyman's offer, and they resolved to stand against him together. The next morning, the party set off in the direction of Brenger and the Wolfskin Warriors. Dropping Ylva and Cornelius off in a nearby town, the team approached the Wolfskin Warriors' camp. As they discussed the best course of action for dealing with the camp full of warriors, they heard a group of scouts approaching. Neros told the party to hide in the bushes, while she stayed on the road to handle the guards in her own roguish way. While the scouts were distracted by her feminine charms, the party silently moved in and incapacitated them. Overlooking the Wolfskin Warriors' camp, the party discussed various avenues of approach. At Val's request, the party gave up any intentions of stealth or ambush and sought an audience with Brenger directly. Brenger refused to listen to their requests and threatened to have them executed if they did not leave immediately. Val countered by invoking both her gods and his, and challenged him to a one-on-one duel, to the death. The duel was quick and one-sided. Before long, Brenger managed to down Val, prompting her friends to come to her aid. In the chaos that followed, Val was restored, but Brenger began to rage and then morph into a massive white wolf. Val killed Brenger with a flash of sudden necromancy, then stormed angrily away. Alward and Zephyr attempted to stop her, but she lashed out at Zephyr, nearly killing him as well, and then disappeared into the woods. When the party finally caught up with her in town, she had regained her senses and allowed them to band together to banish her curse into an amulet of Urgathoa. While they were back in town, they found that both Ylva and Cornelius had left the camp, leaving no explanation or note. As the party arrived in Tomgrove, they met Seerdire, who presented them with gifts that Uver had requested he bring them. As people opened their gifts, Zephyr was approached by his old criminal contact, who fearfully delivered him a letter from the Boogeyman. The letter warned him that if Zephyr did not make good on his deal to kill Alward's family soon, then the Boogeyman would kill them himself. Zephyr decided it was time to let the party know of his plans, but due to shenanigans and an arrest warrant placed for the party, it was almost dusk before they were able to regroup. They rushed to Alward's former boss's home, where he had been sheltering Alward's family, arriving just in time to challenge the Boogeyman and finally lay him to rest. With Alward's family's safety secured, the group rushed back to Joel, eager to stop any more preparations the Aridson family might be making. Upon arrival, they decided to split up and take care of their own personal business before searching out their next target, Hody. Unfortunately, fate had other plans, as Zephyr quickly came across Hody arranging a hitman to take them out. After some tense negotiations, however, Einar and Zephyr convinced Hody to sit down and talk over a drink with them. After a few hours of socializing, they won him over to their side. Meanwhile, Val went to the Pharasman temple to seek guidance from her goddess. To her surprise, she was met not only with a divine injunction to continue resisting the Aridsons, but also with a direction to ask Einar to share his secret. As the conversation went on, Val was shocked to hear Pharasma harbored a stern disapproval of Neros herself. Val mentioned that they had been working with Corvus, at which point Pharasma speedily ended the audience and left. The party regrouped in Alward's old apartment, now turned war room for the Resistance, and Einar revealed that he was from a possible future where the party had failed to defeat Arid. He had been sent back to ensure his future never came to be. Just as this conversation ended, a young man who identified himself as a member of the Resistance popped out of a secret passage into the apartment. He explained that he was trying to track a necromancer they had seen entering the catacombs beneath the city. Einar informed the group that this was likely Mother, as she had been leading an army of the undead in his doomed future. The group rushed out to the catacombs to trail her. Pushing their way through the catacombs and dealing with unsettled spirits, a filth demon, and a mimic, the group soon found themselves face to face with Mother, who seemed to have been expecting them. Almost too late, Alward noticed a trail of gunpowder leading out of the catacombs and was able to disrupt the trail before it was ignited. As the party battled the necromancer, Einar held back hordes of skeletons as they poured out of a mass grave to buy time for the others to finish Mother off. As she died, and the skeletons dropped lifeless once again, Einar also faded out of their timeline himself. During the battle, though, the sound of an explosion and the earth shaking let the party know that their way out had been sealed. Pushing further into the catacombs, they found a strange tunnel that led them back to the underground library where they had first encountered the Boogeyman. As they finally surfaced back in Joel, they found day was beginning to break, but the Aridsons were now making their move. Fighting off a group of gargoyles assaulting civilians, the party regrouped with Uver. But they had little time to talk or catch up, as they heard that Arid himself was now marching on the Joelberg. If uncontested, he would be able to seize the throne and drag the battle out even longer. The party pushed through the chaos of the besieged city to do battle with the ancient king himself. As they pummeled him with weapon and spell alike, it quickly became apparent that his armor was empty and puppeteered from afar by some magic. Just as the armor began to collapse and Arid's voice mocked them for the hollow victory, Cornelius reappeared on a rooftop and tossed Alward a chalice eerily similar to Hamir's. Alward harnessed the magic of the chalice through his psychic abilities to impose the party and Arid into a psychic mindscape, where they would be able to battle his spirit directly. After a second bout with the king, he finally collapsed, shunting the group back into reality. They arrived just in time to see a mountain south of Joel exploding into rubble as a giant serpentine shape soared into the sky. Fafnir, it seems, is now unleashed and has who knows what planned for the land of men. End of Book 2. This has been an Atomic Broadcasting production. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us some support by liking, commenting, and following. These things really do make a difference in getting the word out and helping our community grow. Also, you can connect with us on all of our socials and make sure to check out our Discord server, where you can chat with other fans and discuss all the recent developments and happenings. Links to all these good things in the description below. The Written in the Lost is an original story that uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's fan content policy. Atomic Broadcasting and The Written in the Lost are not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. Hope to see you all in the next episode. Until then, have an atomic time. Hey everybody, I want to come in with energy, but I don't want to scare you. Hello.